Well, when we didn't realize that he had a disability until about 6 months old. When he was born, he had a couple oddities. He had an extra toe on the foot and a pug nose, but they didn't put anything with that until he was about 6 months old, when he wasn't sitting up and doing normal 6-month activities. And so then we started testing, and from there it went.
We had him up to the Weisman Clinic in Madison, and they did some genetic testing up there, and they determined that he had a syndrome.
Probably the hardest thing that we had to deal with at 18 months was him having skull surgery, where they reshaped his skull, and we spent a week in the hospital, but even then they told us we would be there 2 weeks, and he recovered so beautifully that we were only there a week. It's an eye-opener for anybody that has a child with a disability, but you take one day at a time, and you get by. He has grown with Special Olympics enormously, from just being an athlete, participating, to being an advocate for Special Olympics, to getting out there. He wants to talk to schools and to parents. He's trying to get a young athletes program started here in Oregon. He's with different committees. He's on the Athlete Input.
Statewide Athlete Input Council.
Thank you. The Statewide Athlete Input Council. He is on the Polar Plunge Committee for Area 6. And he's just become so much more involved with it and learning the responsibilities that have come with it as he's becoming into an adulthood. He knew he wanted to do everything that other kids did, but he also knew that he had trouble cognitively. He knew that he didn't run as fast as some of the other kids around, but it never stopped him.
Well, when Jake was in school, they tried to, the curriculum modifications they did, they would give him homework and they would say do just every other problem or do every third problem. And Jake didn't like that. Jake wanted to do every problem. So he didn't want to have adapted education. He wanted to do all of the regular education, wanted to do all of the problems. Having that drive and wanting to do everything, not feeling like he had limitations. It was great for us when he was growing up. He always tried hard. Jake's not a quitter.
Growing up, Jake was very, very gullible, and he wanted everybody to be his friend, and he thought everybody was his friend. So it was really difficult trying to teach him that some people will take advantage of you. And we're still learning that. That's a work in progress, and it will probably always be a work in progress for us, for Jake to realize that. You want to be there for them, but you can't. You have to teach them. Sorry. And like Ken said, it's really hard. It's very heart-wrenching. You want to protect them always. But the best way to protect them, like Ken was saying, was to teach them. And in order to do that, you have to let go.
I have a daughter who's 20 years old now, Danielle. She participates in North Carolina. She does a 50-yard dash or walk. She does the softball throw, and I think she does a 100-yard dash too. I went down to North Carolina a few years ago, and she was in a 100-yard dash. And when they started the runners off, a couple of them took off running, and Danielle just started going down, and she was waving at the crowd and waving all the way down. It took her about, probably half a minute to finish the 100-yard dash, but she had a good time. We had fun. Law enforcement, obviously we don't get a whole lot of people smiling at us and thanking us. I went to the Special Olympics Summer Games in Stevens Point the very first year that my daughter and I went down. I made, 2,000 new friends that day. I got at least 200 hugs. I would have got more, but didn't have time. Law enforcement does this for the Special Olympics because we work with all kinds of people in our daily lives and our work. These kids don't hurt anyone. They love everyone. I think it's just one of those things where you fall in love with them as soon as you see them, and that's why we do it. Well, we were told before she was born that she had Down syndrome, and we were told that she had a heart defect and that a normal birth would be very difficult and that she may not make it through it. We were going to go through the normal birth. As it turns out, we had a cesarean. From day one, Danielle was a smiley little gal. She had a heart defect, so we did have to go and have her heart taken out and fixed, but when she was 5 months old. So we went through a lot of hospital time, a lot of doctor time. We had to gravage feed her with a tube to get her weight up. People told us before she was born that it might be a good idea not to let her be born. Don't ever believe that.